Welcome to the video series for a local New England event. This event was in Rhode Island on September 27th, 2025. This event was 420 points with 20 figures, classic Heroscape only, so no VC, and using standard pricing, so not Delta pricing. And it is a B- and under event, which means that all units that are ranked B or higher in the classic Heroscape power rankings are banned from this event. So what does that do to the meta? Well, it takes away all of the best units, so it gives an opportunity for a lot of those mid-tier units that are right at average to have a chance to shine. To prep for this event, I went through the builder on .org for it and made a list of all the armies that I thought were really viable in this format. And I ended up with a list of about 13 armies that will be displayed on the screen right now for you. Of those 13 armies, I ended up deciding that I thought the top 5 builds here were the strongest in this field. It's worth noting that the map pool for this event is a very, very standard tournament map pool, which is not always the case for some of the New England locals, but that is important to know that, basically any normal incentives from a competitive Heroscape tournament are going to apply with the map pool here. So why did I bubble these 5 armies up to the top? Well, I think they all do a pretty good job of using the figure limit and having about as strong of units as they can possibly manage. We have a couple really good ranged squads in here. We also have the Snookies, which are a bit more of a mid-ranged squad, and then a few melee armies that I think are just quite strong here in terms of what they can do in the format. Granite Guardians basically just have a chance to do well because they're 3-5 base stats, and not a lot of things in B- and under have high attacks, so that 5 defense can hold out pretty well. And McDurks have a chance to hit pretty hard, which means that they're going to be able to kill some of the heroes that might be splashed around in this meta, for example, something like Q11. In terms of the ranged squads, I think the Tanuki's build with Raylan is actually reasonably good. It has some really fun interplay, especially into the Granite Guardians build, where Tanukis are kicking them off height and then Granite's regaining it, so there's a lot of fun shenanigans going on in that matchup there. Tanukis just also have pretty good stats for B- and under. 3-4 base, they're going to be on height a lot, so that's going to mean that they might be 4-5s. It's pretty good stats. Gives them a good shot, especially with Swarm Raylan to back them up. Aubrians are also a pretty strong build. 7 range is great. Frenzy Opportunity is great. 2 attack is not great, but when you're B- and under and most things have a lot less defense, 2 attack is way better than it would be otherwise, so that's something. And the pairing of Aubrians with either Frost Giant or Master of the Hunt gives them a piece that's able to hit heroes pretty hard as well, whether that's Q11 or somebody else. Lastly, we've got the Tagawa Samurai Archers with Major Q11. This build is obviously a bit better into melee specifically because TSAs have Counter-Strike. That's always nice in terms of teching out against melee. And then Q11 gives you some nice tools into some of the lower defense things. For example, his special attack is going to be quite annoying into something like Aubrians that have 2 defense. He also has the ability to hit harder if needed, to hit something like a Frost Giant. So which of these 5 builds am I going to end up rolling with? Well, as I frequently do, I talked with a few people about the format to get their opinion. Earthling suggested the Aubrians build. I definitely considered it. The problem with the Aubrians build, though, for me, is that it's very D20 reliant, and I think it's a great army to win a bunch of games, but not every game. Because there's just almost always going to be one game in a tournament of 4 games where you just don't frenzy enough, and then your 2-2 base stats just die, and that's unfortunate. And my goal is to try to win the tournament, so that means that I decided not to run with the Aubrians. Cleon suggested the McDurks build, which I was extremely tempted by, because I would love to win an event with Sir Denric. Random non-tournament thought, but he was in the first expansion pack that I bought as a kid, and it was just a figure that looked cool, so I liked the idea of trying to win a tournament with him. The problem with the McDurks build to me, though, is that they're really, really bad into specifically Aubrians, which is, I think, one of the better armies in this format. Aubrians are just going to torch them with early attacks into their 2 defense, and I just don't think they're going to get to those Aubrians in time. So I was very hesitant to run the McDurks, specifically because I was just very afraid of that Aubrians matchup, and it seemed like I would be a significant underdog to it no matter who was running the Aubrians build. Granites are definitely strong, but I didn't love the fact that they really only have 1 piece in that army, whereas most of these other armies have sort of 2 pieces, and 2 pieces give you more tools to have a chance to try to match up better into whatever your opponent brings. So in terms of matchup variance, the Granites have a little bit more matchup variance because they only have that 1 tool to use. Between the Tanuki build and the TSA build, I think I like the TSA build better. Having Q11 is just awesome. Q11 is a 6/6 unit in a B- and under meta where there just aren't a lot of things that can reliably put wounds on a 6 defense figure. He's got a special attack, that's awesome. The Tanuki army does not have a special attack. He can hit really hard in melee, which is awesome if he needs to try to kill a Master of the Hunt before Master of the Hunt gets him. Another thing I like about the TSA build is that it just makes the matchups into melee super, super strong. And I always like picking an army in a Bring One format where it's got a bunch of really great matchups and then not a ton of terrible ones, where when it's the underdog, it's like a 55-45 underdog, as opposed to being a really big underdog, which is what I felt the McDurks were into specifically the Aubrians. So I'm rolling with the TSAs and Q11. One thing I really like about this build is that it has 3 different ways you can play it. You can play it as a 2-wave army where you lead Q11. You can play it as a 2-wave army where you lead TSA. Or you can play it as a mixed order marker army where you use the TSA as a screen for Q11. Having those options just means that I have the ability to respond to both whatever my opponent's army actually consists of and how they decide to play it mid-game. So I think that this army gives me the best chance to fully utilize my experience edge in a lot of these games, and that is why I am rolling with it. So, should be a fun one. Looking forward to it. Bit of a drive for me. It's about an hour 20 drive from my house to this tournament, so, you know, not nothing, but worth it. It is a glorious day out, and I get to go play some Heroscape. What more could I ask for than that? Looking forward to playing the games. Should be a fun one. Peace, y'all.